Welcome to the Cloak and Dagger podcast. On this podcast, we'll be talking about freeform show Cloak and Dagger. Here are your hosts, Kat and Butch.
Hello, Cloak and Dagger fans, and welcome back to the Cloak and Dagger podcast. I am Kat, as well as my co-host Butch.
Everyone.
And we are excited to be here with you this week to talk about our thoughts for episode 3, which was titled Stained Glass. But first, we're going to go over just kind of general reactions to the show so far. I've seen mostly positive results on Twitter, on different forms of social media, that people seem to like the show in general. What have you seen so far, Butch?
Yeah, same thing. I think I saw, it was like, last I heard anyway, it was like 86% on Rotten Tomatoes. So,
Oh, that's
yeah. So take from that what you will. And in general, like, everybody seems to like it, and even the people there are a few people who weren't feeling it, but even they weren't very. Nobody was like bashing anything. Like, even they were like, like maybe it just didn't grab them, or something common is like maybe the story is still a little bit slow going on, or I know someone who was, I guess, just couldn't follow the characters at this point, and she was like, nah, maybe not for me. But just that those are the exception, I think, rather than the rule. In general, there's just a lot of positivity on the quality of the show, the performances of the actors, which I guess we had an idea about going in.
Yeah.
And of course the music. Everybody loves the music.
Oh, the music is so good, isn't it?
Yeah,
and I love
the
how
first
Freeform will put out their official Spotify channel, so I just subscribe to that right away. That's my favorite, that they give you accessibility to the music. You don't have to go like hunting for it.
Oh, cool. I thought that was just a Cloak and Dagger thing. It's like a Freeform thing.
Yeah, they generally do that with the music on their shows, so I followed that right away for sure.
Right. So yeah, it's cool. Nice to see. So far, so good, I think. And as we're gonna go into it, the third episode continues that trend, I think.
Yeah, and I just looked up our IMDb rating, and it looks like Cloak and Dagger is at a 7 out of 10, which I don't think is too bad for, going on 3 episodes now. I think I read an article, and don't quote me because I probably am looking at it incorrectly, but I think Cloak and Dagger was the biggest show premiere that Freeform had, like, in the past 2 years. So that's awesome.
That's something.
Yeah.
That's definitely something, yeah.
For sure.
Pretty cool.
Yes, and thank you to everybody who's been interacting with us on Twitter. We have some comments to read towards the end of the show, but we'll jump right into our review and recap of episode 3. So again, that was called Stained Glass, and we saw episode Y, but we'll get there. So the episode opened up with the 3D printer scene, and I was confused at what I was seeing at first, and I thought, was this part of like the opening credits that I had missed in the first 2 episodes, but then when it came up again, I was glad to see that that this was something new. So that was cool how they worked the whole thing in and throughout the episode. But just getting that first kind of sneak peek, it was like, what is this printing? You had no clue at the beginning what it was printing.
Yeah, and I guess I'm not too savvy with 3D printers. I didn't even know what it was at first. Like, the first time I saw it, I was like, some kind of machine? What does that have to do with Cloak and Dagger? But yeah, and then I think, so they kind of bookended the episode with cuts from that scene, right? And so that was interesting to see. And they did the same thing in episode 2 with like such an artistic shot in that episode with the fireflies and going into the car crash. So it's good to see them trying to be more experimental with their structuring of the show. So there's a lot of experimenting in this episode.
Yeah, I agree totally. So after we see the shot of the 3D printer, we jump into where we kind of expected to be brought, and that's to the result of the car crash, from Ty and Tandy meeting again, from that gunshot going through the window and then Tandy crashing her car. So they kind of they kind of meet again, and Ty is trying to kind of explain to her how he got there and why he has a gun in his hand and why the bullet was going through the window to her, and she's kind of like
trying to explain.
Right, and she's like, "You're crazy. I'm not buying it." And we kind of see Tandy doing what she does best, and running away again. So as soon as she hears those
Her
sirens,
reputation now.
yeah. As soon as she hears those sirens, she's like, I got to get out of here. I'm leaving. And poor Ty is like, he's confused. He doesn't know what's going on. But still in that moment of confusion, he's like caring for her. Like, oh my God, you have a head injury. You can't possibly drive. And she says to him that she hopes she never sees him again. And then they kind of part ways from there. But the show does an interesting perspective again, with how they're kind of piecing the story together. Is they have that kind of central scene, and then they split off and go the two separate paths between Tyrone and Tandy from there. So the first path, well, before we even get to the paths, we get another scene with Detective O'Reilly. So that was cool to see her again. She's in the hospital asking the guy who attacked Tandy questions, and I think his name was Rick. I think I saw his license, at the end. So, you get the sense from her that she knows that he wasn't mugged or that he wasn't in some kind of like fight. She knows that he was doing something he wasn't supposed to do, and she alludes to that, and he gets really nervous and is kind of like, I'm in pain. I don't want to talk anymore. But I like her character so far. Mainly because she's on Tandy's side, because she seems to be like a good detective who wants to find out the truth. Right,
and so far it's good to hear her voice for one thing. I saw someone comment, I honestly, somebody commented that he thought that she was mute, and I mean, if you don't know the character, of course, I mean, it's kind of interesting thing they did with her first appearance. She wasn't saying anything, but at the same time, that leaves such a strong impact. And now we can see more of her character, like who she is. And I think we found out a little bit more in this episode. I guess we'll talk about it later. But yeah, to start off, she's clearly not stupid. She knows immediately what's going on. She's pointing out stuff. She's kind of trying to let Rick know that she knows something's up. Mm-hmm. And I think that might have backfired on her, because you'll see later Rick makes some phone calls. Mm-hmm. And that kind of leaves Detective O'Reilly sort of in a bind.
Yeah, I agree. But I did like the scene with her, because it really, in that short amount of time, really showed sort of, not necessarily her full character, but it showed what sort of cop she is, at least. So we got to see what kind of cop Detective Connors is, and now we see Detective O'Reilly. So we do have that juxtaposition between the good cop, bad cop that we kind of thought we were going to see. So I'm glad that that's the sort of role that she's playing. But then we go back to Tandy, and of course she took off, so she was running away, but not to the place we kind of thought she was going to go. I don't know what expectations I had, but I certainly did not think that she was going to end up back at her mom's house. So she kind of snuck into her mom's house. Her mom's there sleeping. Was it Greg in the pink bathrobe? Is that his name?
He's going to be wearing that bathrobe the whole season.
Yeah, that's his whole Cloak and Dagger career is the pink bathrobe.
He's just chilling.
So we see them. Tandy's kind of sneaking in, and she's got this head injury, and she's trying to clean it up. And then Mom wakes up, sees her. I was kind of surprised how easily Tandy was able to just cover it up with her hair. It was she kind of did look like nothing was wrong with her. So when Melissa was kind of like, "What the hell are you doing here?" I kind of felt her reaction, because I would have felt the same way having left the way they were.
Right. But at the same time, her reaction when she saw Tandy was hurt, and you pointed it out last week that despite their differences, obviously she still got that motherly instinct when she sees that her daughter is in any kind of pain, and same thing here. She was kind of being adversarial towards Tandy at first. She's like,
Mhm.
"Oh, you finally have the time. Is this a good time for you?" And then she sees that Tandy's hurt and like that. She's like, "Oh, what happened? Blah blah blah." And yeah, then Detective O'Reilly comes knocking, we see more of her being protective over Tandy.
Yeah, and so like in that sense, if Tandy knows that that's going to be her mom's reaction, you almost wonder if there's like a part of her that's why she went there. You know, she could have really went anywhere to get cleaned up, but she chose to go to her mom's, and she was going to see her at some point. I mean, that was a big cut on her head. She wasn't going to be able to hide it forever. And you almost wonder if like there's a part of her that kind of craves that motherly attention that Melissa sometimes shows her.
Yeah.
But she, you know, she was trying to cover it up, and then, like you said, they get a knock on the door, and Melissa Bowen's like, "What did you do? Why are the cops here?" And Tandy kind of doesn't really have an answer, and I think it's because she doesn't know how much trouble she's in. She doesn't know like what they know.
Right.
So
Right.
see Melissa going to the door, and she's covering up for her daughter, saying that she's not there, that she hasn't seen her. And that was another kind of funny scene with Greg where Detective O'Reilly was like, "Can I come in?" And Melissa's kind of like, "No," and he's like drinking in the chair now. He's awake, and he's like, "Need a warrant to come in."
Yeah. Greg has the answer. Warrant.
Yeah, exactly. So
He has a use.
yes, Detective O'Reilly was not, you know, super impressed with the scene that she was met with, I think, and I think she knew that Tandy was there, but you know, you get that Melissa wants to protect her because obviously she doesn't know how much trouble she's in either, but Detective O'Reilly does say, you know, "Hey, I think that your daughter was involved in something where she was the victim, and I want to make sure that she has a voice in this. I want to make sure that she's protected and that she knows I'm on her side." And you can see Tandy listening to that in the background, and I think that might be one of the few times that Tandy, you know, has somebody in her corner like that, especially in a female figure.
Right. I have a question. It's one of the things that's been bothering me. I guess I just missed it. Who tipped Detective O'Reilly off to Tandy?
Do you think it was
Did I miss that?
Liam? Because Liam got arrested, right? Like, she arrested Liam.
Oh right. And so okay, so right. So Liam. Wait. So yeah, Liam knows everything, and he tipped her off, not to like screw her over, but just to.
Yeah, to say like she was hurt here.
Right.
Yeah.
He's still watching out for her. Oh.
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
What happened?
Oh, poor Liam.
Jeez. Poor Liam.
Yeah. You know, I like Liam now. I don't want them to be together, but I'm not like completely against his character.
Yeah. Fine.
Right. Give in. Yeah, I'd like, to me, that's my understanding of what happened. That Liam got arrested, and that somehow he did give that information, and maybe he gave that information up after he realized that Tandy was not coming to help him, because he did call her and was like,
Yeah.
"No, I'm arrested. Come help." And she kind of abandoned him. So, you know, maybe he was like, "I'll kind of tell what's going on, but not enough to like get her into, you know, we won't talk about the wedding robbery and all, you know, what happened afterwards." But it's not like she wasn't like bleeding or anything. There's no way they could have like found evidence of her in the alley. So that's my only guess.
Right. No, you're probably right. Yeah.
So
Liam's in love. That's it.
Yeah. So we leave that scene with, you know, Tandy hearing that Detective O'Reilly is on her side, and then Melissa is kind of like, "Yeah, you know, the cop's gone. Let's come out and let's talk about what's going on." And then, of course, Tandy climbed out the bathroom window, so she's no longer in the home. She's again running.
On the run. Right. And I just want to mention something very quickly. You, I didn't notice it, but when you pointed it out, that how fast her head injury was like healing, at least on the outside.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out last week if they were trying to hint that because she cut herself, her hand on a knife last week. And from what I know, like Dagger in the comic book, she can heal stuff.
Yeah.
So it might be them hinting at that, or maybe and like not necessarily making it clear, but like because I didn't even notice it. I missed it. Like, okay, yeah, she's kind of
Yeah.
healing fast, so
And
maybe
I
it's part
forgot
of it.
about the knife wound on her hand. Like, what does the
Yeah.
time show? It's a timeline show. So, not that much time has passed between when she cut herself on the knife and like now.
Right.
Maybe, as far as we can tell, well, I don't know, maybe a couple days, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I'd
Like,
say.
not
Yeah.
enough. Like, that was a serious cut, so not enough
Yeah.
for that to like not be noticeable anymore. Maybe they are hinting towards that, or maybe it was just a
Right.
continuity thing, or maybe it's something I missed. I don't know, but um, she did, she did clean up her head, and then I kind of think that I didn't notice it again through the rest of the episode. I'm not
Yeah.
sure
Not
about that.
same.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
maybe it's because she was wearing the hoodie later, and she had that kind of covered up. And
Hmm.
so that, yeah, there was not really attention brought to it, but that's interesting to look forward to in the next couple episodes. If that is part of her power, are they going to bring that in?
Yeah.
I would assume so, because
Hmm.
that's a cool power to have. So Tandy flees mom's house, and we see her then at kind of like a park bus stop. So she's
Still
abandoned the
trying to run
car.
away.
She's still trying to run away. She's abandoned the car they stole, which is probably a good idea. I don't know how far she thought she was
Yes.
going to get in that car. She's wearing the hoodie, so she's wearing Ty's hoodie
Yeah.
at the bus station, and she's getting on the bus to go who knows where. But did you notice that that she's had the hoodie for a long time, obviously, so it's like kind of beaten up and it's had some repairs. But did you notice there was like white stitching on the top of the hoodie? So it
No, I
had
didn't
like,
miss that.
yeah, it was like right on her head, so it was like black and white theme, and I thought that was adorable.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was like she took this white thread and was just trying to stitch it together to hold on to that.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, it was really, really cool imagery. So she gets on the bus, and she doesn't want to deal with life, so she puts her headphones in, which is a really good way to kind of escape from people. But she's sitting on the bus, and then she's listening to her music, and all of a sudden everybody disappears. And she's looking around, she's confused. She goes towards the front of the bus, the door opens, and we're seeing that light that we've seen in her kind of like visions before. So we see her get off the bus, and she's walking kind of in that parking lot area, and she was wearing black and white shoes as well. Like, they did really well with their wardrobes. I loved that touch of that black and white that they had going on with both of them.
Good job, production team.
Yes, we noticed things like that. So she's walking, and she's not seeing anybody until she hears a basketball being bounced. And then she sees that it's young Ty. And we're kind of like, whoa, what's going on here? And then we kind of stop with Tandy. So then
Yeah.
we're switching gears. But what did you think of that whole scene where, she got off the bus and everything's all light around her? And what were your
The
expectations?
Okay, so first of all, the sound, I don't know, sound editor, like whoever was in charge for that scene, like did a really good job because she was suffering from a concussion, right? So she had her head was like ringing when
Right.
she was entering into the bus, and then she puts on the earphone, she puts on the cloak, and then the background music plays, like it gets stronger, and then from there you go into the. I think I've got the order right. Then you go into the silence, and you get that gorgeous into the silence. It's like one continuous shot of the lighting changes, and then she looks around, and nobody's in the bus anymore. So just getting all those elements together to get a good shot, and then it's all quiet, and she's walking out, and then you hear the basketball, which at first I thought I wasn't sure it was a basketball. The way they did it was like some I don't know, some kind of foreboding kind of sound.
Yeah.
And then she steps out into the light, and then you get like I think there was like another searing sound cue in there, and then she comes, and she sees little Tyrone, and he's still so darn cute.
I know. And such a
And
good actor,
yeah,
that kid. Like, I enjoy him in the show.
yeah, his facial expressions are. If you look at his facial expressions, he
Yeah.
has a lot of small reactions, and it's just so cool. Yeah, so that was nice, and she recognized. Well, obviously, I guess they were wearing the same hoodie, so
Yeah.
she'd know right away who the kid was. So that was cool.
And she recognized him as the kid from the beach, quote unquote. So but
Favorite line.
like they did such a good job of pulling you into a different world. So obviously she's still sitting in the same place, she's still on the bus, but in her mind she was transported into a different place, and the show was able to really capture that and make us feel as an audience like we were going to this different place with her. And through the lighting, through the sound effects, they did a really good job of showing like, okay, this is the same place, but it's not.
Right.
So, kudos, because they've done that several times now throughout the episodes that we've seen so far, and I really like that kind of like mysticism part of the show. Like, what is happening? We're not really 100% sure. What's the passage of time at this point? And then at the same time, like you said, and I forgot to point out, she obviously has a concussion from that head wound, and she wasn't driving very well. So it's kind of like, is this from wound, or what is she seeing here? Is this part of her powers?
Right.
So we stop with Tandy, and we're picking back up after what I assume was a commercial break into the 3D printer. So we're getting a little bit more into what the 3D printer is printing, and you can tell in this scene that it's printing some kind of human figure, but we're still not sure what. So it's going from the bottom up, so you can see feet.
Yes. You've got feet.
Yes. So we've got that thrown in there, not 100% sure yet. At that point, my guesses were that maybe it was Detective Connors or something like that. It was some kind of Roxxon employee. Maybe they were going to pull that in. It wasn't who, and I didn't expect it to be who it ended up being. But we'll get to that at the end of the episode. So now we're seeing Ty. So we're seeing Tyrone, the same scene that we saw in the beginning with the car crash, but we're going to see it from Ty's perspective. So again, he's really concerned about Tandy, but she runs and, tells him basically, nice to see you, but hope I never see you again. And so then what does Ty do? Ty goes to school because he's a good kid. All this craziness is going on with him, but he's still making it to school every day. So
wait, hold on. Before, because when we get into that scene is so good. Just a little back to when he's with Tandy in the car crash scene.
Yes.
I really like the fact that, I don't know if they were doing that on purpose, but in the comic books, Tyrone has a pretty strong stutter. It's like one of his defining qualities, and the showrunner Joe Pokaski, he was asked about it, why didn't they have the stutter in the TV show, and he said it would be hard to do properly, so they just decided not to do it. But the way Aubrey was acting out the scene, he was stuttering a little bit, and obviously he's shaken up by everything that just happened, because he went from one big emotional scene right into almost being run over. But he was stuttering a little bit, so I really like that. I don't know, maybe just a hint to the comic book version of Tyrone. And one more thing, she Tandy, before she drives away, it just cracked me up. Maybe you noticed it. She's like, don't take this the wrong way, but I hope I never see you again.
Yeah.
And then in between those two phrases, one of the headlights falls off.
Yeah.
And it just cracked me up that somebody would think of that, it would be funny. Let's do it. And I'm sure you have to set that up somehow. It takes a little bit of effort to get that to happen.
Yeah, you're right. The timing of it was perfect.
Yeah, and anyway, the reason I bring it up is I was actually watching for it in this scene, and from Tyrone's perspective, if they would have remembered to keep that in. Because they could have just missed it, and sure enough, it was there. So I'm like, okay, it was really important they got that in.
Did you notice too that it seemed when they first, from his perspective in this scene, he seemed to have a sheet or something that he kind of cast away from him? Yeah. What was that? Yeah. Where did that come from?
Was he? So that must have come from Detective Connors' place.
Because
he wasn't wearing it, right, when he ran in.
I didn't think he was, but like, how did he get there in the first place?
He went through
They
the
didn't really
door.
show that. Like, he grabbed the gun off camera and then got there off camera. And what we saw was he basically busted in through Detective Connor's door. Now we know he knows where he lives,
Right. Yes.
but I didn't see a sheet in that scene where he was shooting
Yeah.
him. But definitely and I didn't see it the very first time at the beginning of this episode, I didn't see a sheet coming off of Tyrone or whatever it was. But when
Yeah.
he did do this from his perspective, I did notice that he cast off something.
And like the darkness stuff was like rolling off of
Yeah.
it, which is really cool.
You know, that is like a really cool visual that they have with the darkness.
Yeah.
But
Well, we'll see. Maybe
where is
the
he
sheet
getting,
always
like,
comes out.
his how is he going to explain to his mom that his sheets keep disappearing? He's going through like an endless supply of top sheets, poor kid.
That's true.
So we have now Ty going to school,
In school.
and
Yeah.
he's looking for Father Delgado because he's obviously confused and has no idea what's going on. But he walks into kind of what's probably Father Delgado's like office, and he's
Yeah.
looking for him. He's not there. But then we see Ty light a prayer candle, which is something we saw Tandy do in either the first or second episode.
Right. Yeah.
That's
Okay.
parallel. But this
Nice.
scene was gorgeous, and one of our followers on Twitter did point this out too, that this was just a beautiful cinegraphic, like the scene, the way they filmed this, the way they shot this. Aubrey's acting was amazing.
Ah,
So
so good.
He's praying, and you know, he's basically like, are you doing this to me? What's happening? I'm confused. Did I bring this upon myself? What am I supposed to do? And like right away I was like, he's not praying to God, as it were. He's talking to Billy. And that's what it ended up being. He was trying to find some guidance from his older brother, who was obviously like his big role model figure.
You got right away that it was Billy.
Yeah, I felt like
Wow.
they weren't going to bring like that much. I think they were going to have the religious undertones, but not so much outright say like, God, why are you doing this to me? I did feel like they were going to bring that back to Billy, because that's showing
Nice.
how much Billy meant to Ty in the first place.
True. Because I was trying to. I obviously didn't get it that it was Billy. So when I was like listening to it, I was thinking, I was like, same as you, like, are they trying to show him as being religious? Because he wasn't really too religious in the premiere, because he was like texting in
Yeah,
church.
he was texting during church, yeah.
So that's the thing. That's why it hit me hard, because I wasn't even 100% paying attention to the scene, because I was like trying to think about like, what are they saying? What are they saying? And then he goes like, I miss you, Billy. And I'm like, whoa, like,
I know.
ugh.
Like, that just hits you like right in your feels. You're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry that, you lost
Seriously.
this brother who meant so much to you. And now you know that you're not crazy, that you saw somebody actually shoot him, that, what they were trying to play off as what happened is not true, that you're not crazy,
Yeah.
you're right about it all
He's
along.
been carrying that for years.
Yeah, like, can you imagine what that would do to a person? And now all of a sudden all this crazy stuff starts happening to him, and poor kid,
Right.
who does he really have excuse me, who does he really have to
True.
turn to? Like, he can't really talk to his mom and dad about it, because A, they're probably not going to believe him with all this like, I'm disappearing and ending up in other places, and B, I don't know how much they believed him in the beginning, that it was a cop who shot Billy. They kind of
Right.
went along with the
Yeah. At the
investigation
beginning, at least. Yeah.
and what was told to them, the lies. And I wrote down one of his quotes when he was praying, basically just having a conversation with Billy. He was saying that he said, I'm trying to be like you, but I'm failing and I'm flailing.
Flailing.
That
Oh, man.
really like got me. Like, man, Billy was such a rock for Ty, and he lost that. And
Yeah.
still like, he's still doing comparatively, like, at least with outward appearances, he's still doing pretty well. but then you see
True.
he's got all this going on within him. So after that, we see Evita coming in, and she overhears Ty obviously when he's praying, but he does mention that he thinks that maybe he's cursed. So she picks up on that, and she says to him, "Do you really think you're cursed? I think I know somebody who can help you." And at that point I was like, cool,
Right.
We're going to get some of the voodoo aspect that we knew was going to come into the show. This is going to play in now. So then we're taken to a scene where Ty's riding the trolley through the city, and he's meeting Evita at the place where she wanted him to meet, and probably unbeknownst to him, it's actually for a voodoo tour. So it's
Right.
tour of the area and the history of New Orleans, but also mixed in with kind of like the voodoo aspects of New Orleans and the culture. And I thought that was cool. Like, that's her after school job, that she has this voodoo tour. What did you think about that? Were you glad to see her like more in this episode?
Yeah, so like coming into the show, obviously, without watching any of the episodes, we had preconceived feelings towards Liam and towards Evita, and man, they're doing such a good job of making the characters likable through those two characters in particular, like who the audience is obviously not going to be into to start with. Because you're going to view them as sort of the enemy to Tandy and Tyrone getting together.
Yeah, because it's really evident that
part of it
Evita
is
has a crush on Ty. Like, that's super evident that she likes him.
Super. Yeah. She was like feeling him up in public.
Yeah.
But part of it is the writing is really good, but in especially in Evita's case, Noelle, I forgot her last name. I'm sorry, Noelle Bercy's performance, or I don't know, her charisma, I guess, better word. Like, it's so interesting whenever she appears. Even in the during the premiere, like whenever she's around, she has like a twinkle in her eye, like something's gonna happen, or she has a sly smile, but at the same time you get the feeling that it's like she can't really hide it, that she cares for Ty, like at the very least enough that she sees he's in pain, or he says the word curse, which is interesting because he was actually smiling when he was using his powers during the premiere, right? There was like that scene when he was smiling, and after everything that happened, now one episode later he's looking at it as a curse. And Evita, she knows someone who can, and she wants to help him out.
And there's a likability about her where they kind of did that with Liam too, where like you don't want Evita and Ty to be together. You don't want Liam and Tandy to be together. You're coming in with the expectation that Tyrone and Tandy are going to eventually end up together. But there's a likability quality to both of them in different ways that makes it okay for now. And I really like Evita's character. For now. But I do really, really like Evita's character. She's a smart, strong woman, and that's always awesome to see on screen. And she's a wonderful actress. And I hope that they keep her character, and I think that she will play a big part of the show, especially with the voodoo aspect. And the connection that Ty now has with with her family, really, as maybe somebody who can kind of fill him in on like what is really actually going on here. But they're going through the tour, and they end up, I think, in maybe a graveyard or like near a church or some building, and it was that scene, and I really like that scene because that was when he drew that X on the stone, and that was like, that's Freeform's thing of like Cloak's symbol is the X, so that was really cool to see like that scene. But yeah, she's telling them to turn around and make a wish, and she was kind of like, feeling on him in that scene, and you're like, okay, got you, Evita. So, he makes his wish and then he claps his hand, and that was another cool scene where he clapped his hand. And did you have an expectation that something was going to happen? Were you like worried that all of a sudden he's going to like make this wish and clap and then something was going to happen?
Kind of. So, but not so strong. Like there was like, why did he have to like walk off to do his clap?
Right.
So you were feeling that? You were like, oh, this is not just a commercial break.
I had like a nervous like anticipation. Like for him, I was like, there's other people. Like if it happened in front of Evita, like she would be okay. But if something crazy happened in front of these other random people, like I was kind of worried for him. So when he clapped,
what if
hand,
like?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead. You go ahead.
So what if he like clapped his hand and like half of the city like turned into dust?
Right. Or like he had like a moment where he disappeared, like in his mind, and then he had like that's like kind of how Candy did at the wedding when she kind of came back and was startled and everybody was staring at her. I just thought that maybe something would happen. And then when he clapped and then everything was still okay, I was like, oh, okay. But something's still going to happen.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they definitely got me. So that was another, I liked that scene a lot, especially when he was drawing the X on the stone. It was like, that's his symbol. That's his emoji.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's
then it was seen with Evita, who, is our emoji queen. So I liked how that tied in.
Exactly.
What else did I did write down that she had a good quote to him. He was kind of asking her, like, this is your family business, like, what do you believe in? Do you believe in this stuff? And she was kind of like, I don't really believe, necessarily in everything that we're hearing in school when we're, going through mass. But she said about voodoo, you don't have to believe in it for it to work. And that was a cool line. I really liked that from her, and I was like, cool, we're really gonna see something coming up. And we did. We got to meet Evita's aunt, and did she have a name? Did they give her a name besides Evita's aunt?
I saw some, I've been trying to find the name of the actress because she's really great. I saw somewhere some people call her Auntie Clarice, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
I haven't confirmed that yet.
All right, I'm gonna look it up. We'll get a confirmation on that. But she, Evita's like, let's go meet my aunt, and she's obviously a priestess where, she sees Ty and she's like, I don't know about him, we're gonna have to see. So she's kind of doing a reading on him with the cards, and the card that she pulls for him is the Joker card, and she said that it's showing both hopes and fears. And I'm like, yeah, because that's what Cloak and Dagger show. And I was kind of like, having a moment of like, of course that's what it's showing for Ty. But that was a good scene. And then she kind of says to him, you need a cleansing. And Ty was like, what are you talking about? Or she says to him, like, you need a bath or something. And he gets a bath for a second. Yeah. And Evita's like, don't worry, it's okay. And then, so you get this important moment where, and I didn't catch it really until right now, she says to him, you need to be cleansed because it'll open you up. It'll open your mind up. So she gives the two options, like you can take a bath in these, in lavender and the other things that she had listed him. Or she said, or I can knock you out, I can hit you over the head. Well, that's what happened to Tandy.
Oh yeah.
I just realized.
Oh yeah.
Right? That was me like 5 minutes ago, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to say that to Butch.
Those writers, they know how to do things.
I know, they get us, like, still afterward. Like, yeah.
And her mind pores.
Tandy got knocked out, and Ty got to take a fancy bath. But that scene was funny too to me when she gave him that list and he's reading it. He's like, where the hell do I buy these things? He's like, you can get them. And then they pan off to Ty's house and he's holding a Whole Foods bag. I was like, yeah, of course you can get that stuff. And
apparently you can. Yeah.
So any thoughts like on that initial scene? Like that was kind of like our first look into sort of the spiritual mysticism of voodoo that they're going to bring into the show. What did you think about it?
Yeah, I first of all, the actress who played the auntie.
I'm gonna look her name up right now while you're talking to me.
Man, good luck. she's interesting. It's the same thing. I think she has the same thing with as Noelle. Like they're both very charismatic performers, and she's instantly likable in the same way. I've got a theory that she won't be so likable for the rest of the season.
Really?
But yeah, but for now, I mean, just seeing her and like how she was acting, like I don't even know what was she playing when he came in. Like, was she playing like Angry Birds or something like that when when he
like
stepped
that.
in? So even stuff like that's like really cool. And of course, he goes straight to the dolls and he's about to touch them, and she's like, "No, don't touch." And she's like stern, but at the same time, she's like, she's not a dull character at all. So that I love that part. And yeah, it's interesting that he gets to have this nice bath. And I actually thought for a second like he was gonna take a bath in their house or something.
Yeah.
But that would have been weird. So it's cool. It's cool that I like her. She's such an interesting part of the show. I hope she's not just a background character. And like
I can't find her on Internet Movie Database. That's crazy. Unless she's like listed some other way. We'll look into that and we'll get back.
I know
who this person is.
It's a mystery.
Yeah, I thought he was gonna take a bath there too. At first, when she put that car in front of him, I was like, "Oh, cool! Like he's already set up. She's got this." And then she was like, "No, you got to go buy your own stuff." It's like, okay. And then when they went to his house and they're kind of sneaking in. And his mom was there, so she was on the phone. She was distracted, but I really thought that she was gonna find them because she would be able to hear that. Like it didn't seem like a lot was going on at the house.
True.
But then that was another scene that we got. Am I going out of? I'm going out of order. So let me stay on here.
No, it's
no.
fine.
I'm still good.
Yeah.
I want to make sure
Yeah.
the cut scene's right because I really like the way that they put the show together, like showing the continuity between the two characters, but they're still in different places. So he's in the bathroom, and then we get another gratuitous like Aubrey without his shirt on scene. And Evita's kind of like standing right there. She's like, okay, but you got to take a bath, so you got to get fully naked. I'm laughing. I'm like, she's not gonna leave the bathroom like that. That's a little uncomfortable. But she's like, nah, I'm here. So
yeah.
Ty gets in the bath, and it's got all that stuff in it, and all I can think of when I'm looking at him in the bath is like, that's going to be a pain in the ass to clean up. And how is your mother not going to find all this stuff in the bathtub after you're taking this bath,
Kind of gross.
Yeah, so, we're seeing Ty in the bathtub, and Evita's like, you need to relax, you need to close your eyes for this to work. And so she gets him to kind of chill, and then he's going into his moment where
His trance.
Yeah, so everything kind of gets darker, which we have seen for him before when he's going into kind of his cloak world. But same with the lighting and the sound and everything, you get that feeling like he's still in the bathroom, he's still in the same place, but Evita's definitely not there anymore. Like you get that feeling that you're teleported along with him to wherever he's going.
Right.
So he gets out of the bath and he gets dressed and he's, walking through his house and he sees obviously nobody's there. He opens the front door and it's dark and he realizes that he's no longer in his house, but he's on top of that roof where he ended up next to the Roxxon Corporation sign. And then he is confronted with little Tandy.
Yeah. And just quickly, did you catch the pictures on the staircase? Like they changed when he was looking at them?
Didn't they? So it wasn't his family anymore. It was like symbols.
Yeah, so I looked, I couldn't find the second one that he saw, but the first one, this is weird. I don't know anything about voodoo, so I'm gonna get a lot of this wrong, but the first one is like the symbol of the boat. Okay, the boat of Agwe. That's how you pronounce it. Who is one of the Loa that they mention in the episode, and so I was just going through just clicking Wikipedia pages, and Agwe is the the god of the. He's the low. Sorry, the low of the sea. Low is like sort of a demigod, so he's the low of the
Okay.
sea. That I guess doesn't have much to do with Cloak, but Agua's wife or partner is oh boy, Erzuli Frida. Okay, Erzuli Frida, and Erzuli Frida. So I'm looking through her description, just her basic description, and she's conceived. It says here she's conceived as never able to attain her heart's most fervent desire. For this reason, she always leaves the service in tears. So she likes to run away. And I'm like, huh.
Oh, look at that. So thank you for pointing that out, because I did see that and I was like, were those there before? Or those were definitely pictures of his family, but then I got, distracted into what was going on afterward. So you said that first scene was like the god of the sea? So maybe that's tying back to how he and Tandy met in the first place, because it was in the water.
In the water. Oh, yeah. Water is like a thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, good spot on those. That's so cool.
We're so smart.
We got you, writers. We got your back.
We can read.
Yes. But there's more. This episode had so many little things like that, and I love when they do like little things that you really have to pay attention to what you're watching to see those things. But we'll get to those in a second.
Yep.
So he's on the roof, he sees little Tandy, and you're like, okay, now they're Ty's with little Tandy and Dagger is with little Cloak. So what's going on here? So then we come back to Tandy, and she's with little Ty, and she's trying to talk to him, but she can't. So obviously they're showing us that she's there, but she's not able to interact with her surroundings. He's trying to shoot hoops, and then we see Billy come in, and Billy is excited to see his brother, and then his friends come in and they tell them, like, hey, we found the guy who stiffed us. Like, are you going to come with us to go take care of this? So then we know that this is the day that everything happened. So this is like the precursor to what happened that day. And Billy's kind of like, no, I'm going to stay with my brother. And then he hands him a piece of paper, and it looked like a check, but you can't really see the details of the check right away. But obviously little Ty gets really excited about it, and he has the facial expressions that you pointed out, like, and when he when Billy says like, no, I'm staying with my brother, he gets this little like smug, like proud kind of face, and it's really cute. Like, he's like, yeah, my brother picked me over you guys. So that was really well acted. And
this is Tandy, like, am I reading this right? This is Tandy seeing Ty's hope, right? Like, we saw his fear, and then now we see his hope. Or we will see his fear, sorry.
Yeah.
But this is his, like, the best case for him, I think.
Or it's like, I guess what I got out of it was, this is something that, like, higher power that we talked about last episode, kind of trying to show them what they need to see without showing too much. Because she didn't actually touch Ty, so I don't know if she can still get the hopes if she didn't touch him, or this was that, whatever force is behind both of them kind of bringing them together. So showing them what they need to see without, revealing everything all at once.
Right. I was just, because where I was going to go with that actually was, we never see Tandy's hope. So you're right, maybe it's not that. Maybe that's just where they should be for that particular scene. Yeah.
And she kind of left when they were both together. She left on the line of, I hope I never see you again. And then she's brought right into, not only am I seeing you again, but I'm gonna get more about your past than I'd be able to see anywhere else. So kind of pulling those two together in an even a different way. So then that made me feel like there is some kind of like overarching force behind all of this that we have not been privileged to yet. So he gets this check, and then all of a sudden the scene shifts, and we're in the woods, and there's a table, and there's like candelabras on the table, and there's different weapons on the table, and then we see grown-up Ty, and he's dressed in like the old French style suit, and you're like, what the heck is going on? And that was kind of Tandy's reaction. She's like, what the heck is going on? But you see his parents are there. And then you see Detective Connors is there, but it wasn't modern day Detective Connors. It was, 8 years ago Detective Connors.
Yeah.
The way he looked when he actually shot Billy.
Great.
So you see Ty picking up the gun from the table, and Tandy's like screaming at him, like, no, don't do this. And he shoots Detective Connors, and then his parents give him a check. And you're like, okay. And you kind of come, then he's got 2 checks, and they both have blood on them. And then all of a sudden, the SWAT team comes in, and they're arresting him. And the scene kind of repeats itself, but he's choosing, like, different methods. And she gets to the point where she's screaming at him to stop, and she says to him, the end will always be the same. You need to try something different.
Yes.
You have to try something else, I think was the actual line. And that's when she makes that light dagger, and she puts that on the table. And am I wrong, and maybe I missed this, but did he pick that up and it turned into handcuffs?
Yes, that's how I see it, yeah.
Okay. So to me, that was like, he's going to try something different. He's not going to take revenge, but he's going to seek justice properly.
Yes. Yeah, that's like how I read it too, like,
okay.
Because it's interesting that it turned into handcuffs, because like his big problem, right, is he loses control, and he acts out, he lashes out, he has a gun. But with handcuffs, the traditional like idea of handcuffs is like you're restraining someone, you're in control. It's like the opposite of losing control. So it was interesting, and then Detective Connor's reaction to that was, because earlier when Ty shot him, he had kind of like this, I don't know, this weird smile, sort of.
Yeah, and
like,
his parents did too.
Yeah, when they felt, yeah.
Yeah.
But seeing this new, I don't know, weapon that Tandy gave him, Detective Connors is afraid, and he just books it. So it I don't know, it works. It's different, right?
Right. It's like all he thinks in his mind is that he has to take this revenge, like vigilante style justice, and then she's saying to him, no, there's another way to do this. And then he realizes, yeah, I could go, the legal route where I'm not going to be pulled into, I'm not going to be punished for something that I shouldn't be punished for. I'm not going to go the wrong route and then end up basically in jail, which is not what Billy would have wanted for him. So she kind of opens his eyes in that sense. So that was a really strong scene. The next scenes to the end of the episode was like really kind of a rush of like what was going on, and it was intense. So we're taken from Tandy's intense scene, and then we go, Ty's intense scene, and no, I was right. Tandy's intense scene, and then we're going to Ty's intense scene. That's confusing.
Right.
But we're back on the roof, and we see Ty with Tandy. And did you notice she only had one ballet slipper on?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that was like a nice.
Little Ty was wearing his hoodie, and then little Tandy only had one shoe on.
Nice detail.
Yes. So she's dancing. So they're hearing this ballet teacher telling her to dance, and then she falls over, and he sees that she could possibly be electrocuted, so he runs after her and grabs her. And then he's not there anymore when he grabs her. All of a sudden he's brought into the woods, and he's seeing older Tandy, and she's wearing that white dress that she had, and she's basically watching a scene kind of in like an encased like gazebo type of thing where there's men sitting around a table, and her dad is there, and he's got the seatbelt on, and he's like trapped in the seat, and you could see them all.
Oh, I didn't notice it was like a seatbelt.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Like it was like
I thought it was like ropes.
Yeah, but he was trapped there, and the guys on the table are, to me that was like the Roxxon employees, and they all of a sudden they all give him the thumbs down, and because they're blaming him, and then they're trying to drown him, basically.
Yes.
So Tandy is standing outside, and she's watching this over and over again, and instead of doing anything, she runs away from it.
Right.
So Ty's yelling at her, why aren't you helping him? Why aren't you doing anything? And then you see Melissa Bowen in there as well, yelling at her husband along with the other men. And then they're still doing it. They're still trying to. And then at that point, it looked like they were pouring blood on him or something. It changed.
It was different, yeah.
Yeah, but Ty.
I don't know what that was. Is that oil?
I was confused by that too. I was like, okay.
Could be blood.
Ty's trying to get in. Tandy's trying to run away. So he yells at her and he says, she runs and he's running after her. She falls into some quicksand and he's like, what are you running from? And he's begging her, stop. He says, please stop running. You have to try something else, which is exactly what Tandy told him in her vision with him. So then she's back.
Right.
And she has the dagger in her hand. And I saw like some of the mist, and like I don't know if the mist was what put the dagger in her hand or that was just like a visual that they had added in there.
Seems like it was just a way for them to do the opposite, because Tandy, she's the one who gave the dagger to him, and in this case, she still has the dagger, but it's his power that literally stops her from running.
Yeah.
And so she finds the new way to deal with it. So she touches it on the glass.
Yeah.
And that's when I was expecting something to happen.
Yeah.
And it didn't.
Everything kind of just disappeared. So she was like, it was kind of a moment where he was showing her, I don't have to run away from everything. I have a power within me that I'm stronger than I think I am. And she kind of like encapsulated that within the dagger and touched the glass, and then everything disappeared.
Right.
And then you see Ty is still in the woods, but the scene is gone, and now he's at this old door. And this is a scene that we had seen from one of the trailers.
Yeah.
So to see him at the door in the woods, like that was, I wasn't sure what to expect. I'm like, is she going to be inside? Like this wasn't what I was expecting from the scene when I saw it in the previews. But he's at the door in the woods, and then we go back to Tandy.
But just quickly, I believe you were the one who thought that you got it right. Like that scene, when we saw it from the previous, like we thought maybe that's gonna be in the dark dimension or whatever dimension.
Yeah, wherever they are.
Yeah, and you got it right.
Woo.
It's not reality.
Yeah, but it's not reality, and so he walks in, and then we're taken back to, like, when he's opening the door, we're back at Tandy, and it's really she's opening a door into, like, this weird check cashing place, and we see all these checks all over the place. And that's when you can really see that these were checks that Billy had given to Ty for good behavior. And that was, like...
Is that what that was?
Yeah, so, like, his name was, like, scribbled in the to line that it said Tyrell. And it said, like, good behavior in the memo. And
Damn it, Billy.
Oh, I know. So then, like, little Ty is, like, sitting in the middle of these checks all crumpled up. But to see that was part of their relationship, like, that was no. And then Tandy is
Stop
like...
it.
Tandy's like, I want to help him. I don't know how to. And then we're taken right back to Ty, and he's in now a church. So that's what we thought that door was, that it looked like some kind of like old church building, and that's what they were walking into. And the very first thing I noticed in this scene was the stained glass, and I believe that this is why this episode was called Stained Glass. But the first panel you see was of Nathan Bowen being crucified. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
That, like...
Yeah, I thought... I was confused, but yeah. I was like, oh, hey, that's him. That's his dad.
Yeah.
Her dad.
Yeah, that got me. It's like, wow, that is...
Oh, he was crucified. Yeah, okay.
Like, that was a powerful image to see in stained glass like that. And they had kind of brought stained glass into the second episode that we saw last week, where Ty and Tandy as well, they were kind of both looking up at the stained glass, like they were looking to it for some kind of clarity, as one would in church.
Yes.
But now you see this stained glass, and it's depicting, the one panel was Nathan Bowen being crucified. There was one panel of Tandy dancing, and there was another panel of little Tandy kind of reaching out to her father.
Ooh, I didn't see that last one.
Yeah,
Okay.
like
Did
those
I?
were so well placed within the show that was so powerful, that imagery.
Right.
Went right along with what was going on in the church, where we had little Tandy passing out communion in the form not of communion wafers but of pills.
Yeah.
So you see all these men that she's given basically pills to and drugged and then robbed. And then at the
Yes.
end, you see poor Liam, and he's in line, and the other guys are kind of there, like, you see Rick, who was the one who almost raped her, but you see them kind of just going along with the motions, but Liam looks happy to be there. Like, he wants to
Yeah.
be there. He
Still loves her.
Yes, he takes the pill from her, and like little Tandy like kind of like pets his hair a little bit.
That was
And
kind of awkward.
it was a little awkward, but he's like like he loves her. And
Yeah, he wants it.
yes, so like he gets up and he falls over just like the rest of them. She's kind of just using him as well, just like she did those other people. So we have that super powerful scene, and then we're kind of realizing that they're sort of in, Tandy and Ty are sort of in the same place, but they're on opposite sides of the stained glass. And then they're moving towards each other, and they both kind of reach out, kind of with their light and darkness. And when it touches, that's when they both wake up.
Yes. And before that, they even just this little little mini sequence where they turn towards each other. Like just that before they walk towards that, I was like, oh, like they see each other, or they know the other one's there, and like, oh, they feel each other, and yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, like, so that was such a powerful imagery, and it's like, I wonder, and maybe they'll explain it, but like, so what Tandy saw with Ty in the woods and going through that, and then what Ty saw with Tandy going through, like, not running away, were they both aware of these things? Or was this just Ty seeing Tandy and Tandy seeing Ty and they're separate? But I got the feeling like they were kind of both present in the same space and got that awareness feeling. Because then we saw afterward that Ty, and Evita was pointing it out when she was walking with him, that he seemed more calm, that he seemed more like clear. And then we saw with Tandy as well, when at the end where she was like, I'm gonna face this. So that made me feel like, though they were in two separate places, they were still part of the same, like, dream or space.
Yeah, and even when Ty told Evita that, like Evita was asking what he saw, and he's like, it's not my journey. Yeah. So he's definitely aware that it's not about him.
Yeah. That there's togetherness to both of them.
Yeah.
So that whole thing was so well done to me. Like, that was intense. The last 15 minutes of the episode was intense. And we learned, I think, a lot. And we journeyed right with those characters to a new point. Did you like the way that they put that together?
Yeah, I do, because it was executed really well. Because the whole where they went wasn't even, I mean, sure, there was like a physical component, but where they went was just like an emotional or spiritual journey.
Yeah.
And if you don't execute that in an interesting way, it could get boring.
Yeah, it could get,
because nothing really happens, right? Like, quote unquote, nothing really happened. But they got to know each other, and they did it in a very interesting, very compelling way for both characters. So where we were at the start, where we end up, we move the story forward without the people actually doing much.
Yeah, without the interaction.
Yeah. Right, because they teased us for another episode. They're still not hanging out.
But they are in this realm that they can both get to.
Yeah.
Or is it part of like a voodoo realm, or is the voodoo like one way to get there? So I think there's like more questions that kind of came up, like where are they, what is this, and who is guiding them together? Because there's something, obviously something between them that's pulling them together.
That's special, yeah.
Yeah. So then we're moving out of, they both wake up. Then we go to a scene again with Detective O'Reilly, and she's got a coffee cup, she's getting into her car, and then all of a sudden Detective Connors comes to her window, and I was like, oh, the two of them are going to have an interaction. I want to see what this is going to be like between them. And it seems like they knew of each other, but they've never actually met each other before. And
yeah, they weren't surprised.
Yeah, he did confirm that he was part of the Vice team, so that's good.
Yeah.
But he kind of hands her Rick Cotton, I think was his name, the guy from the hospital who attacked Tandy. He hands her his ID and is like, oh, I solved your case. We found this on, a homeless guy that he was trying to mug. That's it. And she was like, that's not what happened. And he's kind of like, the case is closed. That's what happened. So like you said before, it's like, was what happened there? Did we know Rick is a rich kid, so did he make phone calls into the police station to kind of say like, hey, I need some heat taken off of me? That was the impression that I got.
Yeah, and it's interesting because that's what Detective Connors did. He had to make phone calls to get his ass off the hook too.
Yeah.
And he's definitely part of something, like I guess I'm getting the vibe that he's part of an organization above just being part of Vice, right?
Yeah,
or even just the police department.
Dirty cop organization is all we really know it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Roxanne.
What if it is? Like, that would be like a crazy overall tie, but Rick obviously knew that Detective O'Reilly knew that something more had happened than just he got hurt in an alley for no reason. So he made his phone calls or whatever he needed to do, and then Detective Connors helped cover it up because Detective Connors is a crooked cop and that's what he does. And Detective O'Reilly's smart. She knew that this was a cover-up and that something's going on. And I think more from her in the future, we're going to see from her eyes what this bad cop club is and what can be done to kind of stop it.
Yeah, she's like, we know, even though she kind of gave up in this episode, just knowing the little bit of information we have, like, we all know she's a badass just from the first episode. So she's probably, hopefully not gonna, even though Tandy walked away from their meeting a little, like, I don't know, defeated, she's not gonna take it like that, and she'll be doing stuff behind the scenes for the rest of the season, maybe.
Yeah, and
hopefully.
I felt bad for Tandy in that meeting because Tandy called her and was like, hey, if you're here to help me, I'm not going to run away from this. And you can imagine how Detective O'Connor or Detective O'Reilly felt in that moment, like, this kid is coming to me for help, and how am I going to tell her that this is all being swept under the rug? So now she's going to kind of get that Ty feeling that he had when his brother's death was swept under the rug. But, to Tandy's credit, she doesn't run away from this. She does meet with Detective O'Reilly, and she tells her kind of what happens, and she walks away from that upset, and I don't blame her. She's trying to tell her story, and then is seeing that, there's not a way right away that justice is going to be on her side. But I think that she does feel that she has an ally in Detective O'Reilly. So that's a good kind of establishing that relationship. So maybe Tandy can look to Detective O'Reilly, and Ty still has Father Delgado to turn to. Even though we didn't see him in this episode, he was still mentioned, is obviously still a figure that Ty holds highly. So we have that duality there. And then the other important scene...
He's the only guy who's not in the episode, too.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
you're right.
the whole cast was in this episode except Other Delgado. Although he did get the mention, so
He did, yeah.
shout out.
I mean, we'll always know he's in every episode, so he's right here.
Yeah.
But then we go to the scene with Ty and Evita, and he seems to be walking her home, and she's telling him, "Oh, you look, what happened? You look better." And he says what you said, that this wasn't his journey. I'm not gonna give it up. And she respects that, and I like that about Evita because she's not like pushing him. But then they have a moment where they kiss, and I knew it was coming, and I was okay with it because I like Evita. Like, I want her to be happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was cute because they're cute together, but I don't want them to ultimately end up together. And I think that there's somebody else out there for Evita. But they had to like get
It's
that out
Liam.
of the way.
Liam's out there for him.
Oh no, that would be random. But it was a cute moment. I wasn't mad about it. And I saw somebody say online that I hope that nobody gives Evita's character like a hard time, because they do want Ty and Tandy together. Like, let's not attack Evita. And I agree. Like, she's a good character. She's allowed to have a crush on somebody she goes to school with. I mean, she doesn't even know who Tandy is at this point, except that she was the crazy girl from the party who stole his wallet.
Yeah. Yeah. She's it's and the I don't know. Did you ever watch Battlestar Galactica?
I did not.
Yeah, the person who said that comment, Mahela, she compared that to what happened with Battlestar Galactica, where you had just quickly that you had like the two main characters, and they went through the dance of like, will they get together, won't they get together, and then through the course of the show, they did not. They just ended up with two other people who were also very likable characters, and I didn't get the point of Mahela, because I did not see the fan reaction at the time for Galactica. But what I gather is a lot of people, there was a lot of backlash to that.
Okay.
And yeah, so here we might get the same thing, because they're establishing Evita and Liam as very likable characters. So I mean, I'm guessing at some point Evita and Tyrone are gonna be a thing, and Liam and Tandy are sort of already a thing, and that's gonna make us want these characters, Tyrone and Tandy, to get together more, which is that's gonna happen. This is Cloak and Dagger, right?
Yeah,
So we have to get through that, and yeah, so hopefully it doesn't spill into real life as these things can sometimes do. So we keep things, I don't know, like professional.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. And things can get crazy on Twitter, to say it politely. But
Yes.
I like Evita, and I hope that good things happen for her. And if she has a little relationship with Ty, I'm okay with that, as long as ultimately we see where his loyalties lie with Tandy. So they share the kiss, and it's a cute moment, but also importantly in that moment, Ty kind of looks over to the other side of the street, and he sees stained glass, and he feels immediately that connection, and you're like, oh, that's the abandoned church that Tandy's living in. So he has that connection to her from the experience that they just shared together in the other world, wherever they were. If they were in the dark dimension, I don't know. But then we go into we already spoke about Tandy telling Detective O'Reilly her story. So then we come back to that 3D model, and we're clearly seeing that it's a person. And somebody picks it up and is breaking away the extra pieces, and you can see that it's Ty. And then you're looking at the shelf, and it's the dolls again, and you're like, okay, what's going on? And then it's Evita's aunt placing this 3D printed doll of Ty onto the shelf.
Yeah.
So
did you notice the dolls too? Like,
yeah, that there was always two of them together.
Always a pair.
Yeah.
And interestingly, not always male female. I think I saw
Yeah,
like
I think you're
two
right.
of them were like boys, all boys,
Yeah. So it's
and
like
the Thai doll is alone. The Thai figure is alone for now.
for now. Yeah. So it's like and you can see like the ages of some of those dolls, like that this doll was made a long time ago. You know,
Yeah, it's from
they
different time periods. Yeah,
yeah, so they had mentioned that before that like there's always this pair that's kind of protecting the city and the one will live,
yeah,
one will die kind of thing. Well, here it is
yeah,
in voodoo doll representation across, this mantle, and then all of a sudden Ty is added. So it's clear that Evita's aunt knows more about him than she was ready to tell either one of them at that point. So she can
yeah.
sense that Ty is part of that legacy that's continuing on. And I think that's something that we talked about before, that there's always been this pair who have been together protecting the city, and then they're kind of reborn, like their powers are reborn throughout the generations.
Right.
So
Yeah. Do you think this is like? Obviously, where we're leading with this is that Tai is like. There's always been, let's call it a cloak. There's always been a cloak,
yeah,
or like a darkness figure, and then
yeah,
a light figure,
right,
and I guess a family as like Noel's. I'm sorry, Noel's, like Evita's that they I guess they've been around for a long time in New Orleans. They have the old dolls,
yeah,
so they I guess they pass down that knowledge, and maybe they have a bigger role in things than just being caretakers of the dolls. Maybe
yeah.
they, who knows, they could be
Or
part of
are
something
they like
else.
the caretakers or the protectors of the secret, of the legacy? Were they like the guiding force after the Cloak and the Dagger figures of the past kind of found each other and found their powers? Is it more, is that family more wrapped up into it?
Right.
I think at this
So that-
point, I don't think Evita knows all this.
Okay. Yeah.
But maybe she does.
She has an idea. She has an idea for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. I mean, she's definitely smart, and she knows kind of what's going on. But maybe she has no idea that, if she does know about that history of things, maybe she has no idea that her aunt knows it's Ty. That he's that special.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting for
and-
like the 3D print of Tandy
Okay.
in the white
What if
plastic to be right next to him.
I think, did we see that in the trailer? I'm not sure if I saw
I didn't
the
see
white
the trailer, so I'm leaving that
Okay.
part up to you because I did not get to see the trailer for episode 4.
Right. And just touching back on the legend of the Cloak and the Dagger, or the divine pairing.
Yeah.
The story that Evita was telling during her tour about the last duel.
Yes.
So if the way she said it, like it's two brothers,
Mm-hmm.
and one had to die or sacrifice himself,
Yeah.
and it happened during a hurricane. So, I mean, one way, obviously, that's kind of a callback to Tyrone and Billy,
Mm-hmm.
like two brothers, and one lived, one died. But at the same time, it also, like, we always hear the from the promotional material, it's like one will live, one will die, from the
Yeah.
divine pair. So maybe the brothers were one of the divine pairs, right? And
Yeah, or,
like
like,
maybe one
started
dark
it.
brother, like light brother. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the hurricane, that could just be, maybe it was like a real hurricane, maybe it was some kind of, I don't know, magic
Yeah.
magic storm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are things in the trailers where you see like something that looks like a hurricane,
Mhm.
and Tyrone and Tandy at sort of at the center of it.
Yeah.
That's usually where they put over they intersperse that with the one will live, one will die line.
Yes.
So yeah, maybe there's always been a Cloak and the Dagger, and I'm actually curious if, like, who knows, maybe we're talking about Evita's aunt. Maybe she had like the power before.
Oh, that's like maybe she was the one who lived.
Yeah. So that's actually why I'm thinking she's I don't know, like she's manipulated. She's going to manipulate things, and
Okay, that's an
she's
interesting take.
yeah, and like obviously maybe Evita is the dagger that she wants. I don't know, like that could happen.
Oh, yeah, no, that's like a super interesting take on the story. Like that's another way that it could go. Okay, well, let's
Yeah,
hold on to that theory and see how it pans
yeah.
out.
See,
I like that. I also want I want to know the statistics behind the past Cloak and Daggers, like between the one will live, one will die. Like, what's the ratio of the cloak surviving to dagger surviving? I want to know. I want to know what kind of odds I can expect here, because I guess to me, like Cloak would be the one to sacrifice himself more often, in my mind.
I know.
I don't know. Maybe that's another good poll we can throw out there.
Yeah.
What do you guys think is?
Who's gonna survive?
Yeah. So then, the very last scene of the episode. So after we see that, we get that bombshell of Ty being placed on the voodoo mantle. We're back with Tandy's going into the church, and she's like, "Cool, I'm in my home, and I'm just gonna relax." And then Ty is like, "Hey." So he shows up in there because he made that connection through the stained glass, and she's looking at him. And in the beginning of the episode, they were mad to see each other, and now in this end of the episode, they're kind of like have this knowing understanding that they both experienced something together, and they're looking at each other. And he says to her, "I think we need to talk." And that's the end of the episode. Yeah. And I'm like, yes, you do need to talk. There are some serious things that you guys need to go over here.
We all want you guys to talk.
Yes, and it better be privy to us. Right? Thank you.
What if the next episode is like the conversation's over and they're like separate again?
we already talked. It's fine. So that was the end of episode 3, and again, that was called Stained Glass. But I really liked that episode. I thought it was a great addition. Pulled more of their past in, pulled them more together. Like, they knew of each other in the first 2 episodes. They knew that something was going on, but they really got a sense of each other, I think, in this episode. So, did you see the trailer for episode 4? Because I did not. So if you want to kind of review that.
I actually don't remember much. And the reason why is because, like, even in like a 30-second trailer, there's already a shot of topless Aubrey in the next episode. So I'm like, okay, okay. So I kind of everything else was like I was just reacting to that. There's definitely another. Oh, geez, yeah. Spoilers if you don't want to like know anything about the next episode. There's definitely a Ty and Evita kiss again, and
really.
Tyrone is walking through, I don't know, like a costume shop, and that's where he picks up the striped cloak from the comic books.
Oh.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's gonna last or if it's just like an Easter egg thing, but I was like, ooh, episode 4 and you already have it. Pretty cool.
He found his cloak.
Made me happy.
Episode 4.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, that's cool to look forward to. That'll be airing next Thursday.
Wait.
I know. I will not be able to live tweet that episode because I will be sitting in the theater watching Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, which I've been waiting for months. So, if you guys follow me on Twitter, I'm like obsessed with Jurassic Park and Jurassic World, and
a little bit.
I got just a little bit. I got my tickets like as soon as I could, and I bought them for like the earliest show, which is 7:00 on Thursday, like not even thinking about anything else. And I was like, oh, I can't live tweet that. And I couldn't live tweet last night because I was gone for work. And side note, it took, I live in Chicago and I had to drive to Upper Wisconsin, and it took me like 6 hours to get home. And I had not expected to have to run into as much traffic as I did, even though if you're from a city, you should just expect that it's going to take you 2 extra hours to get anywhere when you're driving. But hopefully we'll work out some sort of live tweet, because that is super fun to interact with everybody during the episode.
Yeah, and it's interesting you brought up traffic, and what would really help with traffic would be like teleporting powers. And
wouldn't it? Oh my god, I do so much traveling for work. If I could teleport like Cloak does.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have to.
might want to change your vote. That's what I'm saying.
So that brings us to our poll. I'll get right into that. So we asked you guys if you could pick between Cloak's powers or Dagger's powers, who would you pick? And I picked Dagger, and I had said because I don't think I could handle seeing everybody's fears when I touched them. I don't think that I would enjoy that very often, so I had to go with Dagger. And also because Dagger's freaking cool, so I had to go with Dagger. And a lot of you guys agreed with me because we ended up with the vote being 41% for Cloak and 59% for Dagger. So Dagger won. Dagger's cool like Daggers, won the poll. Who did you vote for?
I went with Dagger.
Did you?
But it took me a while. Yeah. Well, mainly because of it's a curse. Like even Aubrey said it. Like knowing from the comic books, like the whole scope of what you get with the teleporting, you also get the hunger and meanwhile, like Dagger, she doesn't just throw daggers. She can cure people, and that's I don't know. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But teleporting, man, that
I know, like
that almost got the vote for me.
Takes you like when you're like, ooh, I'm not sure, and we had a good turnout on our poll. So, you know, again, we're 59% Dagger, 41% Cloak. Thank you guys for participating in the poll. We'll do another poll. We'll try to do weekly polls because that's a super fun way to interact with you guys. But yesterday, Butch put out a question, you know, how did you guys like episode 3? And we promised we would read your comments on the air. And then after I do this, Butch has something super cool to show us. So we're gonna check that out. But let me go through here if I can read my crazy handwriting. So we did have some responses, and this first one was from at B Mahala. Did I say that correctly? Am I saying that incorrectly? You guys?
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
Please
we'll stick with that.
Yeah, if we say your name wrong, and we will fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And they said that the Thai praying shot was beautifully shot and crafted, and we totally agree with you there. That was one of the most beautiful scenes when he was praying and talking to Billy. That was an amazing scene. And then they also brought up the fact that the Loa were mentioned, and good catch again, Butch, and showing the voodoo symbolism in where his family's pictures were supposed to be. So that's really cool to see brought into the episode. We have all that mysticism with the voodoo aspect. We also had a quote from at Walt Gator 93, and he said that this episode was better than episode 2, but not as good as 1. But the ending scene makes me excited for episode 4, and it was great for them to know where they came from. And I agree, kind of like, you know, brought it together where Tandy and Ty were kind of feeling like, you know, this person has something to do with me, but why do I have to be part of this? And now they're really seeing that they do have that connection, that they want to know more about each other.
Right.
So I agree with that. And then we had one more comment from at Randy S0725. And he quoted us his own personal tweet that said, "Have I mentioned lately how much I enjoy Cloak and Dagger? Superheroes, check. Mythology, religious refs, check. Culturally relevant, diverse diverse AF, I should say, to keep this PG. Check. And then surrealist, artistic elegance, check. And music on point." 100% agree with everyone's observations. Check all of those. And I think that's what makes this show so interesting and so compelling to want to watch further, even for people who aren't familiar, like you are, Butch, with the comic book universe, is that they're bringing this spiritualism, mysticism into the show, the crafted scenes, the way that they piece the story together, the way they shoot everything, the sound, the lighting, the music they put together. It's a good show. Yeah, you have like you said, check, check, check. Like Randy S0725 said, check, check, check. It's all there. Those are the things that we look for when we're watching a show. And I hope it continues throughout season 1, but I don't think there's a reason to think it wouldn't. So
yeah, true.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just really like it's so cool to see, just going through I don't know, YouTube comments and on people who are using the hashtag Cloak and Dagger.
Yeah.
From the comic side, there are a lot of people who are like just so happy. I've been waiting since 1980, whatever, 88, 89, or 90, and I'm right with those people. And just to see this come together, and it's done so well. And again, there are a lot of people like me. I didn't know much about Freeform, so somebody said ABC, the ABC Family channel. I'm like, oh no, like these are gonna be like really melodramatic teenagers, which is not that good a criticism, because that's exactly what happened in the comic books. But to see the quality of it, and it's like to have so many people agree that it's not just, I'm not being biased towards this show, which of course I would be, and the quality of the directing, I think, especially for this third episode, because I was kind of apprehensive. Again, I'm a worrywart about the show, and knowing that, let's just call her GPB, because I always forget her full name. GPB. She Gina Prince Bythewood. There you go. She directed the first episode. Yeah. And so I was like, but what if it goes downhill from there? Because other people will direct. And this one was directed by, what was his name? Peter Hoare, who will direct Umbrella Academy, another comic book related property.
Oh, nice.
And he did such a good job too. Like the shots, the pacing, the structure, and of course it's not just on him, but like you said, it's on everyone from Mark Isham's music and Cliff Charles's cinematography. Okay. I have to check that. Like good, the people involved.
You're good. You're better than me, Butch.
Wait, it's right here. Yes, Cliff Charles with his cinematography. The people involved really know their shit. Like maybe not all of them even know Cloak and Dagger, but they know what they do and they're good at it. And Jeff Loeb, the show, the principal guy behind it, he hired the right people. And 3 episodes for me, like that's enough to alleviate my fears, I think, or my concerns.
Good.
Yeah, so we've got, how many do we have? 10 more, or is it like 7 more? Whatever.
I think it's 7 more. Yeah, I think it's
just 7 more.
Yeah, I know it's gonna go by super fast.
But yeah, I'm like, it's gonna be super good. So yeah. I'm really happy.
Good. So those were our comments from Twitter. Thank you guys so much for interacting with us. Please vote in our polls, send us your comments. You know, we're always willing to discuss anything that you guys would like us to discuss after our recap on the episode. So, you know, let us know, keep commenting, and we'll keep reading your thoughts on our podcast. So before we get into your unboxing surprise here, you know, you mentioned Freeform, and we do have other podcasts in our podcast family who have podcasts based on other Freeform shows. So we're going to pause for a second to give one of those podcasts a chance to tell you what they're about.
Hey there, Cloak and Dagger fans. I'm Abel, and I'm joined by one of your co-hosts, Kat, and we're excited to announce that we have a brand new podcast coming out August 1st called What the Funko. Kat, you want to tell them a little bit about our new podcast?
Absolutely. If you guys are as big of fans as Funko Pops as we are, we hope that you will join us. We're going to be showing off our collections, our most prized pops, what we have coming up, what we're excited to see, and we're really excited to interact with you guys to see what kind of collections you have, what's your most cherished pop, do you like to keep your pops in the box, or do you like to take them out? So we hope that you join us for our weekly discussions all about Funko Pops.
We launch August 1st everywhere podcasts are found, and we look forward to you listening to us. Thank you guys for listening to this, and enjoy your show.
Thank you. Okay, we're back. So Butch, you've been waiting for this. You have an unboxing to do for us, so please go ahead and take over.
All right, so just very, very quickly, I guess people know that I am a comic artist. I love comics, and if you're like a hardcore comic book fan, one of the other ways you can spend your money on these stupid pieces of paper is to buy original art, like to show your fandom. And original art is when you buy a comic book, obviously somebody drew that, and like the traditional way of doing that is on paper with like a pencil, and somebody will ink over that, and you send the inks to the publisher, and then whatever the rest of the production happens. The publisher does not keep the original art; that remains with the artist, and of course the artists are free to sell them to collectors, to make extra money or whatever.
I didn't know that.
So that's cool, right?
Yeah, that is cool.
So the prices on these things can vary, but for something like Cloak and Dagger, which is, it's not a big hit, but it's also not, because it's not a big hit, it's not easy to find original pages.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the Cloak and Dagger comics that were made during the 80s, a little bit during the 90s. So they're hard to find, and there are a few sons of bitches who are really rich who can afford, I'm kidding, who can afford
not.
to pay
How it is.
to pay like good money, because usually these are sold at auction. So you're looking at $200 to $700 for a piece of paper, which is a great, pretty cool piece of paper, but still, you can't always justify that. And for me, I've always been looking. I have to be very particular. I've always been looking for Cloak and Dagger art. It's hard. It's hard to find a good page.
Yeah.
And I found one. Yeah, and I swear it's crazy because obviously I did not time this to coincide with the show, but yeah, like last month I saw something for sale at some website and nobody noticed it, and I'm like, so I had to look for. I saw the comic book. I'm like, that's a freaking good page, and yeah. So hold on, this is the original inked art from. See, it's not even a Cloak and Dagger comic. It's Amazing Spider-Man. Hold on, Amazing Spider-Man annual from 2016, and I got this yesterday. Hold on, I don't know how this is gonna show in the camera, so I guess.
Oh wow!
I will just we'll tweet this out too. I'll try to zoom in.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a good shot.
So there you have the money shot over there, and it's just full of, look at that. They're like so tender.
Yep.
And a lot of Cloak and Dagger on this page. It is
so
just
cool.
To give credit. The pencil art is by Corey Smith, and the ink art, which is this, is by Scott Hanna. And yeah, I finally have my Cloak and Dagger original art after searching for years.
That's awesome.
I was trying to sleep with it last night and to like cuddle with it, and my wife's like, no, you don't want to do that.
Like, just go.
But yeah, I've been just
hang it up.
yeah, I've just been staring at it the whole day. So yeah, it's cool. I guess a lot of people, maybe they're like, oh yeah, and it wasn't too painful on the wallet to be.
That's good.
So that's good. So I have more money to spend on other. Like there's actually, just a quick plug, there's a new Cloak and Dagger comic out. The people at Marvel are smart apparently, and they timed it with the TV show, so you can look for that on, I don't know, Amazon. Like
we
just
posted some links to that on our Twitter, just some retweets. Yeah, there is the new comic with the characters coming out or already out, so definitely check that out. If anybody has picked it up and read it, let us know. If anybody else has any Cloak and Dagger pieces in their collections that you guys would like to show off, please let us know. Send us a message on Twitter, and we'll get into touch with you. And with your permission, we can always share pictures of the pieces that you guys have in your collection. So again, we love the interaction, and obviously we love to talk about the show. So we definitely want to hear your opinions. And if there's anything else you guys would like to hear from us on the show, please feel free to let us know. And to let us know, you need to follow us on Twitter. So all of our handles, the show's handle, mine and Butch's handle, are in the show notes. So go ahead and follow us on Twitter, especially Butch, because he posts his amazing art. So if you guys want to check that out, Little plug for you, Bush, that Aubrey liked one of your tweets.
Yeah.
With your art in that, and I was like so excited for you. That was super cool.
Yeah.
So go ahead and give us a follow. You guys can also rate us on iTunes. You know, if you guys are feeling like, you know, you like what we're doing here, you like what we're talking about, feel free to give us a rating over on iTunes. But again, thank you for joining us, and we will see you guys again next week for our review of episode 4, and be on the lookout for a new poll. So thank you guys again, and we hope you have a good week. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode. Make sure you check out the show's description down below so you can follow us on social media. Talk to you next time.